Time now for the voice of the land on the Big Play Network with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Always Positive Jay.
We knew that coming into free agency, Cavs, what do they got? Not a whole lot that they can work with.
No.
So, I mean, we can do debates if you really want to, and it doesn't matter if it's on this show or just out in public or on Twitter, whatever it might be. Like, oh, like, I don't know why they got this guy. This guy sucks. Like, they should have gone after this guy. Like, okay, but the level of talent that we got is what we could afford.
A starter, dude.
We got a starter, and like signing trades and using some of whatever cap space they had to sign Georges Niang and bring back Caris LeVert. Do the sign and trade with Miami and San Antonio, where, yeah, you trade Chetty Osman and Lamar Stevens away. Fan favorite, sure. Gritty, tough. Go do the dirty work out there on the floor, but not consistent enough. Part of the problem with guys in the corner that you kick it out to them. Chetty was a lot better at the three-pointer this year than most of the other guys that...
He was just so inconsistent. Like, he was very streaky. Like, one night, 4 for 6. Next night, 1 for 8 with 5 turnovers.
And Lamar Stevens, one of those guys, again, that would get down the floor, get the floor burn, stuff like that. I think, bringing him into Game 5 when he did, that was probably too late because he was someone that I thought maybe could change at least, like, the toughness mentality of the team. But after what Jared Allen said, as much as we don't want to hear it, he was brutally honest. And if they had that mindset that the bright lights were too bright, anybody was going to come in here and just dominate them because they weren't ready. And I don't know why. I don't know what conversations were being had, what type of adjustments, or it's one thing to go out there and play basketball and you got this talent on the floor with you. Donovan Mitchell can score from anywhere. Darius Garland can shoot, can handle the rock. Evan Mobley's an up-and-coming young star in the league. But if you aren't tough, if you aren't physically tough, mentally tough, if you don't have heart, your pride is on the line as these guys are going to the rim and getting offensive rebounds. And they just let the Knicks take their pride time after time after time, and it was so frustrating to watch. And if the Cavs try to make a run, well, hey, we're going to double up on Darius Garland, or we're going to make it tough for him to see over the defense.
Completely clog the lane.
We're going to clog the lane. We're going to make it tough for Donovan Mitchell to do what he likes to do. We're going to leave these guys in the corner because if they make one, great. But we're not going to defend them because more often than not, they're going to have one of the worst bricks you've ever seen. We're going to see off the backboard, somehow find the angle where it goes over the backboard when you're coming from the side of the hoop. Georges Niang, over his career, has shot the three 40%. Max Strus, from Miami, shot the three pretty well. Do you buy into this conversation that people are trying to have? They're fearful of Max Strus being able to play his role because he's
not in the Heat culture no more.
People from the Heat culture, the role players in the Heat culture, when they leave it, they aren't the same player. Do you fear that that's going to be the case?
Shoot. That's just the bottom line. If you could shoot a three, you're not going to.
That's what JV needs to tell him.
Exactly.
You can shoot. We brought you here to shoot. Shoot the rock. It doesn't go in. Shoot it again. We're going to get you open. Defenses are going to know that you can shoot the three.
He's going to get a lot of open threes.
Yes.
And everyone's all worried, we're going to make a huge splash and this. We didn't need to make a big splash. You know what the big splash needs to be is Evan Mobley taking a giant leap in his offense this year. That's the big splash we need to make. We just need to fill in spots.
Yeah.
We said that at the end of this year, dude. We just needed a couple three-point shooters to space the floor, and the offense on that team changes dramatically after that.
And you got guys that can't shoot the three, especially in the corner. I mean, I know how much work Isaac Okoro put into it, and he's probably continuing to do that here in this offseason. I can't fault the guy for his hustle, for his work ethic. It's just they're either technique-wise or mechanics, whatever it might be, mental, whatever it is, there's something that he can't take that step towards consistency. I'm not looking for consistency right away. Look at LeBron. I know he's the exception to a lot of rules, but when he came in the league, yes, he was able to dominate. We saw the thunderous dunks. But there were areas of his game that it took year upon year upon year continuing to work on it to get better. It's so difficult to play basketball when you're basically out there on the floor, you're going 3-on-5. When two guys can leave their shooters in the corner and can pinch in, clog the lane, you got guys that like to penetrate into the lane, kick it out. It makes it very difficult to operate. Now, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, we're putting all of the Donovan Mitchell wants to go to New York conversation aside. That's just ridiculous stuff that we're not going to entertain right now until we see more definitive evidence of that. It's his home. People, just let it go for right now. He's a Cleveland Cavalier for this year and next year, and he's got a player option for that year after that.
He was rooting for Rosario the other day, so, were all the New York people all upset about that?
Oh, my gosh.
They must have been flipping
our
out.
Native son, he's just rooting for Cleveland. How can you do that?
Root for Cleveland when you're from here? Shame on you, Donovan. Shame on you.
But Garland and Mitchell, and I know the regular season people are going to try to just push it aside again, just like when LeBron was here. It was a different era, people. The regular season's going to have to matter for this team. Because if you look back on it, hindsight tend to be 20/20. Some of the bigger matchups against the bigger teams in the league, I don't know what their record was against those teams. I'd have to go through their roster or go through their schedule and see, the top 4 teams in the East, top 4 teams in the West. How did they fare throughout the year? What was their record against those teams? But it felt like the Cavs didn't always live up to those moments. But they took advantage of opportunities against lesser teams, just like the Guardians would do in their division. Garland and Mitchell, I need to see a different look in their eye from game 1 of the regular season next year. Leadership, tenacity, not letting anybody punk us tonight. It's an 82-game season. You're going to have the blowouts. That's totally fine. They're probably going to happen in January when you go on a West Coast trip. Just the doldrums of an NBA season. But for the most part, from game 1, you got to see a different look in those guys. They got to be pissed about how they went out of the playoffs and take that next step forward. What we haven't seen from the Guardians, we need to see that from the Cavs next season. And at least this front office
is all in.
Is all in.
They're completely
and they're doing
maxed
what they
out
can.
pretty much what they can.
They acknowledged the need. They addressed the need. Browns, in their offseason, they acknowledged needs.
They're pretty much all in.
They addressed the needs. Guardians, they acknowledge needs. They don't always properly address those needs until and they have to make quick changes throughout the year. So you got to give them credit.